Hi, I'm Antonio Centeno. I'm the founder of Real Men Real Style. Today I'm going to be giving you 7 tips on how to dress warm when you're wearing formal wear, when you're basically wearing a suit, when you are wearing nice clothing. Let's say you're up in Winnipeg, Canada, or you're over in Toronto, you're in New York City, and it is cold. And in fact, the gentleman who sent me the question, he's up in Canada. He's saying, hey, Antonio, it's negative 20 below zero here. And it's cold, and I've got to wear a suit. I've got to look nice. How can I dress warmer? So I'm going to give him 7 tips on how we can do this. Some of these you guys may have already heard, and I've put out infographics, but I know some of those infographics haven't necessarily addressed how to dress warm when you've got to dress sharp. Okay, so point number 1 is going to be invest in a heavy and long jacket. So you may have to have an overcoat custom made, but this is going to be your key defense, that heavy jacket. I'm not talking, most overcoats out there, they're made for, I guess, people down in Florida or something. But you want one that is made from a heavyweight fabric that is lined with a windproof material, and you want it so that it buttons up all the way, that it flaps up, it basically has the neck protectors on the side, that it is longer. It should go beyond your knees, because that is going to be a big one. A lot of guys, they cut it short here. Maybe they go with a pea coat. Pea coats are cool, but the problem with a pea coat is they're not very long. The same thing with a lot of other types of jackets out there is that they don't cover your backside, they don't cover your thighs. If you can get a long jacket which goes well past your knee, this is going to pay dividends, because when you're out there standing on the corner and you're able to bundle this thing up, it's going to protect your legs and do a great job at that. And that's when it really, this is, a really big tip. And I know a lot of you guys are wondering, where can I get a jacket like this? Over at the article at Real Men Real Style, I'm going to link to a couple places, but in my experience, for a lot of guys, it may be something that they maybe want to have something custom made, but I will try to link to some vendors who can supply you with one. Okay, so point number 2 is the part that the jacket doesn't cover, and that is, first off, your feet. So invest in a pair of winter boots. And what do I mean by winter boots? There's a wide range out there. I'm talking a pair of zip-up boots that have an insulation on the inside specifically, and you should tell there's insulated. I've worked with a company over in Berlin called Shoe Passion. I really like some of their insulated boots. There are other companies out there that will use different materials. Other things to look for in a pair of insulated boots is that they're a bit higher up off the ground. So this may be a small difference, and we're talking in some cases about 1/4 of an inch, but that 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch can make a big difference in the sense of distancing you and insulating you from the very cold ground. So anyone that's had to stand at a bus stop for half an hour, for 25 minutes in cold weather can really appreciate this, because otherwise that cold is going to start to seep up, and you want to make sure that you are properly insulated from this. Okay, so point number 3, you want to protect your head, you want to protect your neck, and you want to protect your hands. Now, there are going to be some, very basic, watch caps out there. If you're going to go with a watch cap, make sure it's thicker, that it's knitted, that you may even consider having a thinner one that you wear underneath and then a thicker one on top. But I'm a big fan of going for the full Ushanka and, really covering and protecting yourself, being able to protect your ears, and having something that at this point, and when it's that cold, believe me, it's not going to really detract too much. There are some other stylish hats, and I'll link to a few other options in the article. But guys, this is where it's okay to be a little bit, mixing a little bit of casual with the formal jacket. Now, the other thing, and this is where you can keep it actually very sharp and really bring it together, is going for a nice scarf. Now, I'll link you to my infographic. I give you 11 ways to tie a scarf, but going with a nice long cashmere scarf that you're able to wrap around, that's going to really help and protect your neck as well. Last thing about the hands. Now, a lot of the formal gloves out there, they're not going to go very far up. I'm a big fan of making sure you find a pair of longer gloves that do a good job of covering the wrists, and I'll try to link you to a few vendors at the article as well. Okay, so after that, let's go ahead and go to point number 4, which are thermals. So there's a wide variety of thermals out there. You want to make sure you go with something that fits you a bit closer to the body. With casual wear, you can go with a looser fit because usually your clothing in general is looser. But with formal clothing, with suits, you need something that's not going to just make the suit look a bit odd because you're trying to scrunch it in underneath. So for that, I'm going to recommend a lot of athletic wear. If you go into an athletic store, a lot of those, the bit of clothing that fits really close to your body, there are certain things like Polartec Power Stretch out of Malden Mills. I'm a big fan of what they do. And there's a company called Kenyon that makes it. I'll link over to some of their products. If you get those and you get them to fit closer to your body, that is going to be an awesome insulation layer. So point number 5. Let's now focus in on the core. And what I mean by the core, this is going to be your upper body and your torso and your midsection area, or basically in your ground, your crotch area. So some small little things you can do. Wear 2 pairs of underwear. Wear a pair of boxer briefs, maybe with a pair of briefs underneath, instead of wearing boxers. All of a sudden, instead of wearing just 1 undershirt, how about you wear 2 to even 3 undershirts? Now you may be saying, okay, in the office, I'm going to be incredibly hot. Well, the great thing about just focusing on the core is that you can walk into a bathroom, take your shirt off, and strip off 1 of the layers, maybe even 2 of the layers. And I know the double underwear thing may not be for everybody, but I'm talking about for guys that, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. It's really cold, and you don't want to get frostbite anywhere. So focus in on the core. It really is going to keep you a bit warmer. And this is important when you can't go with a lot of long thermal underwear, because I know the long johns for a lot of guys, it's just too much, especially when you're in a warm office. So point number 6 is going to be your suits and your shirts. Maybe go with a winter weight. And what do I mean by that? There are actually, you can buy suits, you can buy shirts that are going to be a little bit heavier. So that's actually wearing one of your heavier duty your shirts, one of your suits, maybe going with flannels, going with tweeds. And by simply bulking up that, maybe your trousers, instead of going with the lightweight ones, you actually invest in some gray flannel trousers. By doing that, you're going to just simply bulk up that layer, and mixed with everything else we're talking about, you're really going to be able to better retain the heat. The last, and by far not least, but you want to be paying attention to the various types of fabrics that you're purchasing. So understand that cotton is very cheap. Cotton can be found all over the world, but cotton does not insulate heat as well as wool and a number of synthetic materials, which are specifically designed to do that. And I'm talking more about the thermal underwears. So make sure you've got the right fabrics. In addition, make sure you've got the right weaves. There are some weaves out there which are going to allow air to move through very easily. You want to be going with like twill weaves on your shirts. It's going to better retain the heat and not allow air to move as easily between. Okay, guys, those are my 7 tips. Hopefully you enjoy them. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.